Welcome to the 10 Minutes Gold Mine, where every book gives you a treasure of knowledge in just 10 minutes. Introduction. Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is a groundbreaking exploration of how the human mind works, shedding light on the different modes of thinking that shape our decisions, judgments, and behaviors. Drawing on decades of research in psychology, Kahneman introduces the concepts of two systems of thought, System 1 and System 2. System 1 operates automatically and quickly, with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control, while System 2 requires effortful mental activities, reasoning, and conscious thought. The book presents how these two systems work together to influence everything from personal decisions to broader societal phenomena. With its rich insights into cognitive biases, heuristics, and the interplay between intuitive and deliberate thinking, Kahneman's work has wide-reaching implications for fields such as economics, business, politics, and everyday decision-making. Part 1. System 1 and System 2, the dual systems of thinking. At the heart of Kahneman's theory lies the concept of two distinct systems of thinking, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, and intuitive. It operates effortlessly, drawing on experience, pattern recognition, and heuristics, mental shortcuts, to make quick judgments. This system is efficient in familiar situations, but it can lead to errors when dealing with complex or unfamiliar problems. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, deliberate, and logical. It requires conscious thought and effort, and is often engaged when we need to solve a challenging problem, make an important decision, or override an impulse driven by System 1. While System 2 thinking can help us make more accurate decisions, it is resource-intensive, and we tend to avoid it unless necessary. Kahneman argues that although we like to think of ourselves as rational thinkers, much of our thinking is driven by System 1, which is prone to cognitive biases and errors. This is because System 1 is based on heuristics, mental shortcuts that allow us to make judgments quickly. While these heuristics are useful in many situations, they can lead to systematic errors. Kahneman's key message is that we are often unaware of these biases and errors, and our reliance on intuitive thinking, System 1, can mislead us. Part 2. Cognitive Biases. The Pitfalls of Intuitive Thinking. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment, whereby inferences about other people and situations may be drawn in an illogical fashion. Kahneman explores several biases that arise from System 1 thinking. One of the most pervasive biases is the anchoring effect, where individuals rely too heavily on an initial piece of information, the anchor, when making decisions. Even when the anchor is irrelevant, it can still influence decisions, as seen in various experiments involving estimation tasks. Another significant bias is availability bias, where people tend to overestimate the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. This bias explains why people might perceive plane crashes as more common than they actually are after hearing about one in the news. Kahneman also delves into the representativeness heuristic, where people make judgments based on how much something resembles a typical case, rather than considering statistical probabilities. For example, people might wrongly assume that a well-dressed individual is more likely to be a professor than a truck driver, despite the base rate of truck drivers being much higher. Kahneman illustrates how these biases play out in real-world scenarios, affecting everything from hiring decisions to financial investments. He suggests that by recognizing these biases, individuals can take steps to reduce their impact and make more rational decisions. However, he also acknowledges that overcoming these biases is not easy, as System 1 thinking is often automatic and outside of our conscious awareness. Part 3. Prospect Theory. Decision-making under uncertainty. In this section, Kahneman explores how people make decisions under uncertainty, introducing his pioneering work on prospect theory, a model that describes how people make choices in situations involving risk and uncertainty. According to traditional economic theory, people are assumed to be rational decision-makers who weigh all options and make choices that maximize utility. However, Kahneman and his collaborator Amos Tversky discovered that people often deviate from this rational model. Prospect theory suggests that people are more sensitive to potential losses than to gains of equal size, a phenomenon known as loss aversion. In other words, the pain of losing $100 is psychologically more significant than the pleasure of gaining $100. This leads to decision-making behavior that is often inconsistent with traditional economic theory. For example, individuals might avoid selling a losing stock in the hope that it will recover, even though it may be more rational to cut their losses and invest in a better opportunity. Kahneman also discusses the endowment effect, which is a cognitive bias where people tend to value things more highly simply because they own them. This can lead to irrational decision-making, as individuals may overvalue their possessions or investments, resisting selling them even when it would be in their best interest. He explains that these biases are not limited to individual choices. They can also have profound implications for public policy and economics, influencing everything from tax policy to risk management. Part 4. Overconfidence and the illusion of understanding. One of the most intriguing aspects of Thinking, Fast and Slow is Kahneman's examination of overconfidence. He argues that human beings are prone to overestimating their knowledge, abilities, and the accuracy of their predictions. This overconfidence is often driven by System 1, which prefers simple, intuitive answers to complex problems. People tend to believe that they know more than they actually do, and that they are more likely to succeed than is realistically probable. Kahneman discusses the illusion of understanding, where individuals believe they understand events after the fact, even if their understanding is incomplete or based on hindsight bias. This bias distorts our ability to predict future events and leads to errors in judgment. For example, experts in various fields often feel more confident about their predictions than they should be, which can result in poor decision-making, especially in situations involving risk and uncertainty. He also examines how overconfidence can lead to the planning fallacy, where people underestimate the time, costs, and risks involved in future projects, often leading to delays and budget overruns. Kahneman stresses that recognizing our biases and limitations can help mitigate the impact of overconfidence and improve decision-making, particularly in high-stakes situations like business or policy-making. Part 5. Choices, Values, and Happiness. In this section, Kahneman shifts the focus to the relationship between choices, values, and happiness. He explores how people make decisions based not only on rational calculations, but also on emotional factors. Kahneman draws on his research in the field of subjective well-being to examine how individuals perceive and evaluate their own happiness. Kahneman introduces the concept of the experiencing self and the remembering self, two distinct ways of evaluating our lives. The experiencing self is concerned with the present moment, whereas the remembering self reflects on past experiences and constructs a narrative of one's life. Interestingly, the remembering self tends to dominate decision-making, as people often make choices based on how they expect they will remember an experience, rather than how it will actually feel in the moment. Kahneman also highlights the role of duration neglect, where people tend to ignore the length of an experience when evaluating its overall satisfaction. For example, a vacation may be judged primarily on its peak moments and its ending, rather than on the overall duration of the trip. This insight has significant implications for how individuals make choices about life satisfaction and the pursuit of happiness. Part 6. The Impact of Intuition and the Role of Expertise. Kahneman's final section discusses the impact of intuition and the role of expertise. He explores how experts in various fields can make accurate judgments based on intuition, drawing on years of experience and deep knowledge. However, Kahneman argues that intuition is not always reliable, especially in situations that deviate from familiar patterns or when experts are not properly trained to recognize biases. Kahneman emphasizes that while expertise can enhance decision-making, it is not immune to the biases of System 1. He cites examples from fields like medicine, where doctors may rely on intuition in diagnosing patients, but can be influenced by cognitive biases that lead to incorrect diagnoses. Kahneman's message is that even experts should be aware of their cognitive limitations and engage System 2 thinking when making important decisions. Conclusion. a more rational approach to decision-making. In conclusion, Thinking, Fast and Slow offers a comprehensive exploration of how human beings make decisions and the cognitive biases that influence our judgment. Kahneman's work challenges the assumption that humans are rational decision-makers, demonstrating that much of our thinking is shaped by unconscious biases and intuitive shortcuts. By understanding the dual systems of thinking and the biases that affect our decisions, Kahneman argues that we can improve our decision-making processes and avoid the pitfalls of faulty reasoning. How do you think the concepts of System 1 and System 2 apply to your daily decisions? Do you find yourself relying more on intuition or reasoning in making important choices? Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments section below. That's it for today's 10 Minutes Gold Mine. If you find value in this, don't forget to like and subscribe. We upload +5 videos each day. Lastly, if you have any book in mind that you want to listen to, feel free to type the name in the comments. See you in the next one.